Infinite Warfare was a game that was hated as soon as it was revealed. The announced trailer for this game became one of the most disliked videos in YouTube history, and many people were hating this game before any of the details were really known, other than the fact that it was futuristic, and people just disliked it upon that, and it really became like a meme on the internet to hate this game. Initially, I wasn't a huge fan of this game, but I thought it was just okay. Like, I didn't think it was horrible. I really didn't understand where the hate was coming from. I would have preferred a more like a grounded, more realistic, more like past-based, like kind of like World War II, how we're getting a boots-on-the-ground game that's based in like history. I would have preferred that, but I wasn't like horrified by the futuristic setting. Like, I was okay with it. It wasn't my favorite. I would prefer boots on the ground, but like futuristic wasn't a deal breaker for me. But for a lot of people, this game, they just hated it to throw a fit because they were tired of advanced movement games. When I played the beta, I thought it was just okay, like I said. For whatever reason, during the beta for me, the networking felt like super inconsistent. I felt like I was dying like instantly. But they improved that like at launch, and then very early on in the game, at least for me, I felt like the game was getting more consistent. Could have just been my perception because this game does have like a faster time to kill compared to Black Ops 3. So maybe it was just I adjusted to it, or like they changed the networking. It felt like I was getting bullshitted less as the game went on. So I actually began to enjoy this. And one of my favorite things about this game is that it runs well. The hit detection is excellent, and the game runs well. Compared to Black Ops 3, which was a game I loved, like I reached level 1000 in multiplayer, but the hit detection and connections, and the lack of like constant frame rate in Black Ops 3 really was just horrible. Like all of those things, the connection, the hit detection, and the frame rate for me was very glitchy and buggy. So with Infinite Warfare being very consistent running, for me at least, with very good connections generally and a very good frame rate, or hit detection rather, sorry, it was a welcome change because the game ran better, it had better connections. That's a major like plus in my book. I think Black Ops 3 is a better game, but Infinite Warfare runs better, and I think plays better because of it runs better. So the main weaknesses of Black Ops 3, which was the networking and just the overall stability of the game, were addressed in Infinite Warfare's release, and that's something that's really good. Another thing that I really love about this game is that Infinite Warfare loads the map while you are in a lobby, so you get in and out of matches very quickly, and there are far less long loading screens in this game compared to Black Ops 3. If you play games like Modern Warfare Remastered or Black Ops 3 after playing Infinite Warfare, it's annoying the amount of like downtime in between games and how long it takes for those games to load the map, and then like how long it takes you to load you back into the lobby once the match is completed. A side effect of loading maps while you wait in the lobby was that you didn't have to play in-progress matches if you didn't want to. When you joined a lobby, it would say match in progress and then like loading map or something at the top, so you would know this was an in-progress match, and then you could just back out if you didn't wish to play that in-progress game. And I'm someone who really hates in-progress games generally. And playing Modern Warfare Remastered was very annoying at times because I felt like 90% of the time I was placed in a losing in-progress match, and then after that game, like we'd be down considerably in the domination match and like already getting spawn trapped, and then we would lose, and then like everyone would leave the lobby pretty much, and then I would have to find a new game, and it would put me in a in-progress match again, and this cycle would just complete over and over and over again. So I really liked having Infinite Warfare have faster load times overall, and letting me choose if I didn't want to play in-progress matches. Cycle back to connections. In Infinite Warfare at the start of the game, I had very bad internet. Like I had 15 down, 2 up, and a pretty high ping. I don't remember the ping exactly, but it was very poor like connection quality overall. I would lag pretty considerably. Like each match I would have a random lag spike that was very high, and I'd been playing on this internet since like COD 4. So I'm used to that random lag spike randomly in the game, like it would happen to me at some point. And throughout the course of this game, I think it was in May or something like that, I actually got a fiber internet connection, and I have like 1000 upload, 1000 download, very low ping, and it's very consistent and like connection. And the game feels relatively the same for me. I've seen some people say that they're punished for having good internet, and from my experience of having bad internet and then going to good internet during Infinite Warfare, it really just doesn't seem like a thing to me. And I actually switched to my better internet at the height of like the kill trading controversy, where a lot of people was complaining, or were complaining rather, that the Infinity Ward added kill trading to the game and it ruined the game, and it like was punishing players with good connections. That's when I got my good internet, and I really just didn't notice a change. I was actually able to play relatively similar, and it really didn't bother me at all. So I don't see what people are saying when they think that players with good internet are punished in Infinite Warfare. Now onto the actual gameplay. I don't mind the movement at all. I'm someone who doesn't really care about advanced movement. Like I would prefer the classic movement, the classic boots on the ground gameplay, but I enjoy both styles, and it's not a deal breaker for me if the game's one way or the other. What really annoyed me about Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare was the payloads or the specialists. I really dislike people getting a super weapon or a super ability just for existing in the game. I also really hated how some of IW rigs were smaller, like in the case of Synaptic, it's very small, or even FTL is very small, than other characters in the game. They have the same hitboxes, but the perception of the character being smaller, it just feels harder to shoot, even though it technically isn't. I don't know. It's just annoying to play against those rigs. And I don't know why they would make some rigs larger or smaller than others. Why didn't just have everyone the same size? It's just confusing to me. I feel like in a game like COD, everyone should be the same size, period. Synaptic being smaller and having the best movement in the game, and a get-out-of-jail-free card as Rewind as a payload, was just a massive mistake, and it made the Synaptic rig massively overpowered and massively annoying to play against. But I really just hate the payloads in general. I hate the free get-out-of-jail-free cards like Rewind or Armor or FTL Jumper Phase Shift. It just gets you out of jail free. Like I said, like if you make a bad decision, you don't have to live with that bad decision and then like make an outplay to get out of it. You could just hit 2 buttons and then you're no longer in that bad situation. And I feel like that's something with World War II that's going to matter a lot. Positioning is going to be much more important, and a lot of people are going to have bad habits because they're used to having these get out of jail free cards. This game was a little bit too chaotic for my liking. Like I said, it was okay, but I don't know what it was. The map design, the movement, just the pace of the game. It really just felt faster paced than I would like at times, especially in the objective modes. I felt this game was very chaotic and very fast-paced, and that was mainly why I played TDM throughout most of this game. As a solo player, the pace of the objective modes were just too much for me. The pace at which players could move across the map, like you couldn't like control the maps as well as like as an individual as you will be able to in a boots on the ground game. Just like how fast people can move around basically is what leads to this, I think. People can be anywhere and they can get there very quickly, so that makes it very hard for a solo player. I really enjoyed Kill Confirmed in this game, but we'll get to that later on in this video. I thought the gun balance was pretty good overall in this game. A lot of people complained about the NV4 and the Gay-Bar and like the ERAD being overpowered, and the VPR was super overpowered for a while and like hands down one of the best weapons in the game. But like I said, the NV4, the K-Bar, and the ERAD are definitely top tier weapons. But I feel like the gap of these weapons, like say the gap between the NV4 and the Volk, there's definitely a gap there, but it isn't so massive that you can't get away with using the Volk. And same with the ERAD. The gap between like the ERAD and the Karma 45 isn't so massive that you're just going to be outgunned automatically if you're using like the Karma 45. This game, weapon balance was generally okay. That's what I'm saying. Like there was top tier weapons, but the gap between them wasn't that large. Whereas if you look at some of the past Call of Duty games, there was very large gaps in between some of the weapons and guns that were just kind of worthless. Whereas I feel like most of the guns in this game I can use and do okay with. There's like some guns that are kind of joke weapons, and that's one thing. But most of like the normal weapons, like the assault rifles, the SMGs, and the LMGs, I can use pretty much all of those and do good with them consistently. And doing good with a weapon isn't just based upon the weapon itself, it's more based around how I play with it. With the time to kill being so high in this game, the gun that you're using doesn't matter as much. Whereas with the time to kill being so low, you kill people very quickly and die very quickly, your weapon doesn't matter as much. It's more about who gets on target first and if like someone can evade in that fight or use cover or jump, do something like that. But you're not just going to be massively outgunned all the time just because you're using a certain gun, or you're not using a certain gun rather, and I feel like that's good. If you look at a game like COD 4, if you're not using like the M16, you're pretty much outgunned in every medium range, long range fight if you're firsting an M16. The AK-47 is very good, and there are some good alternatives, but I feel like the M16 is just massively head and shoulders above all the other weapons, and that's not something you see with Infinite Warfare. Sure, the K-Bar, the NV4 are very good, but there's weapons that can compete with them consistently. Like another thing, I never thought that weapon variants were really out of hand. Compared to IW, or Advanced Warfare rather, I thought Infinite Warfare did a much better job of not letting the variants be too OP. I never felt that I really needed a particular variant just to do well. I could do well with most of the weapons. This kind of ties into the weapon bounce. With the time to kill being so low, you die and kill very quickly. The weapon you're using really doesn't matter that much. There are some good variants that are objectively better than the base model, but the gap isn't that large, it isn't massive, it isn't like the Obsidian Steed of Infinite Warfare, the Speakeasy. Like many people complain about the NV4 flatline being OP because it has infinite range, but because of its lower fire rate, it's statistically worse than the base model until you pass its 4-hit kill range, which is 30 meters with a silencer, or 40 meters if you're not using a silencer. This is a very specific circumstance that has to be met for this epic variant to be better than the base model. Compared to AW's Obsidian Steed, it was an epic variant that was just objectively better in all situations than Obsidian Steed was an epic variant that was objectively better than the base variant in all situations, and there was no way to earn this variant until they added like extra prestiges, I believe. But as far as in the base game, you couldn't get salvage and save up that way to get a weapon like you could in Infinite Warfare. So I thought Infinite Warfare did a good job of making it easier for you to get variants that you wanted. If you wanted a particular variant, you could grind out those mission teams, and you could open supply drops to earn salvage, and then you could just straight up buy it that way once you've earned enough salvage. So Salvage did a good job of letting you buy a particular variant you wanted. Also, when they added things like contracts and bounties from zombies, things like this, they give you a lot more ways to earn keys in Salvage, and the mission teams themselves were a great way to earn Salvage. I just didn't feel like you needed to spend money to get a particular variant in this game, like you might have needed to do, and I never spent money on supply drops ever, but like you might need to do for Advanced Warfare or Black Ops 3. I think this game did a much more like better consumer-friendly model of the microtransactions. So like I didn't feel the variants were overpowered, and they were easier to get, so that's why I feel that like did a much better job. IW also did a much better job than recent COD titles with the weapon DLC. Season Pass holders just got the weapons, and everyone else could earn them through a pretty easy challenge. They weren't too challenging. It required you to play a decent amount of games, but it's not like you needed to get a nuke with every gun in the game in order to get this weapon. It was generally something pretty simple, and you just had to basically complete 20 matches and you would get it if you were going for this. Compared to Black Ops 3, the only way to get these new weapons was through supply drops, and I believe AW was the same way, but I didn't play that game throughout the full year, so I don't really know 100%. But with this game, you could. If you're a Season Pass holder, you just got it, which is great. You could earn it through the challenge, or you could get it at a supply drop. So it had the option of the previous two games, while also adding two much easier ways to get it. If you're a hardcore fan, you probably own the Season Pass anyway, so you're not really that concerned about it. Sure, there are the variants and the supply drops that you have to get, but it's not that big of a deal. If you can get the base weapon and use that, that's good enough in some points. It's very annoying to not have like access to weapons. The variants may be slightly better or worse, but at least if you have access to the base variant, you could get like 90% of the weapon. So I think this game did the best job by far, even better than Modern Warfare Remastered. A lot of people praise Modern Warfare Remastered, but it's like microtransaction DLC model, but I think Infinite Warfare did it even better, but a lot of people are just blind to that because they didn't play Infinite Warfare throughout the year, really. The amount of annoying, powerful equipment in this game was really disappointing. Things like the explosive drone, the spider grenade, the black hole generator, the trip mine, the plasma grenade, all ridiculously powerful and annoying equipment to play against. So that's one of the clear like downfalls of this game, in my opinion. And I really hated how this game grouped game modes halfway throughout its life cycle. Like I said, I really liked Kill Confirmed. Well, halfway through the cycle of this game, they decided to pair it with Frontline, which may be the worst game mode ever made in COD. So they ruined that mode for me completely, and they haven't fixed it yet, so I wasn't able to play Kill Confirmed at all ever again, because I'm not going to play Frontline. I think that game mode is horrible. And I think they also paired Hardpoint with Defender. I'm not sure how Hardpoint or Defender's players feel about that. I feel like neither of those game modes are either like better or worse than the other. Like, Hardpoint's definitely better, but I feel like Defender isn't as trash as Frontline is. So, like, just grouping game modes isn't a good idea to me. I understand it's bad to split the player base between several modes, but I would prefer to have Kill Confirmed just be on like a weekly rotation cycle where I get it like once a month or something, rather than just never getting it again because they grouped it with Frontlines. Another great thing Infinite Warfare did was that you can walk through teammates. This is something that people have been complaining about for years in Call of Duty, is that you get stuck on teammates, you're bashing into teammates constantly, your teammates are bumping you. This game solved that. You can just walk through your teammates, and it really wasn't an issue from what I know at all. Like, I never came into a situation where I got fucked because someone walked through their teammate. It's just something they fixed that was objectively a problem in Call of Duty. They made it better, and it's something that wasn't in World War II. You can't walk through your teammates in World War II, and that's kind of annoying. Master Prestiges were added in late spring, and I believe that they didn't add anything worth reaching these variants. Like if they added more classic weapons into the game, players would have been grinding to get the new weapons, but all the Master Prestiges really awarded was the atomizer strikes with the existing classic weapons, which is nice, and extra XP from the MK2 variants, which is just okay. I think this is one of the biggest missed opportunities in Infinite Warfare. When they add more prestiges to these games, they really should try to add a reason for the players to reach them. Even if they rewarded like a good amount of salvage or keys or something, salvage probably wouldn't be a good one, because if you are a high prestige, you probably have a lot of salvage and have most of the variants you want. But I feel like if they added more classic weapons, if they added weapons like the MP7, the ACR, the FAMAS, there's countless weapons in COD history that they could have added to these classic prestige, or as classic weapons once they added the more prestiges, and people would have been grinding the game much more after that. Adding Master Prestiges was there's pretty much just nothing you got out of it, and that's fine. I enjoy prestiging and I enjoy leveling up, but it's really nice when they have something to go for with these prestiges. This was my favorite post-MW2 Infinity Ward Call of Duty, and the core of the game is very good in my opinion. Like I said, the gun balance is okay, and the time to kill makes it somewhat okay. It isn't ruined by microtransactions, and it runs well. The maps are kind of iffy. There's not really any maps that I really feel like strongly loving about, but there are some pretty garbage maps in this game, like Frontier or Frost. I really don't like those maps. Most of the maps are just okay, I feel, so it's not really a positive or a negative. They're just kind of there, but it runs well. It has decent weapon balance, and it's kind of fun to play. I don't know how I really could like word that better. I just enjoy playing this game. And the main thing for me is that it runs well. I really like that because Black Ops 3 was a game that I loved, but it running poorly was just something that ruined it for me. But like I said, I didn't like MW3 and I didn't like Ghost, either of those games. Both played way too slow in my opinion, like campy, and then the fast time to kill was really like irritating to me in those games. But I feel like Infinite Warfare actually did it and did it okay. I do think it's really unfortunate that so many people hated this game without giving it a chance. Like, I had several friends who got caught up in the hype train, and I was able to convince them to try it throughout the year, and when I finally convinced them to try it, they pretty much all enjoyed it. So this is a game that more people should have given a chance. It's not a bad Call of Duty. It's just an okay Call of Duty. Like, it's not a perfect Call of Duty. I'm not saying this is the best Call of Duty ever. You're going to hear a lot of praise in this video, but that's mainly just because so many people hated this game and bashed it all year, and I really feel like that's wrong, and we really need to look back on this game and think about some of the good things it did, like its great stability and hit detection, which are two important things considering Black Ops 3 was an objectively better game in my opinion, but it just ran so poorly that it doesn't matter that it's a better game because it runs so shitty. And then also this game did microtransactions better than any other Call of Duty has to date, and many people bitch and complain about microtransactions like it's the worst thing, but they won't praise Infinite Warfare for doing it better than any other Call of Duty has. That's going to be it for this video. Thank you all for watching this video. If you made it to this point in the video, please let me know what you thought of IW. Like I said before, I enjoyed this game, and it certainly wasn't perfect, but I enjoyed it. Please give this video a like rating if you enjoyed it, and thank you all for watching, and thanks for watching my Infinite Warfare content throughout this year.